Hey, it's Kelly from MXHideout. Are you wondering if the reeds are going bad on your two-stroke dirt bike? It's one problem that can have really hidden signs. It has you guessing. It's like, man, what is going on? And then you realize, oh yeah, it might be the reeds. So I want to share 5 signs that are going to tell you, from my experience, that your reeds are going bad on your two-stroke dirt bike. So the first sign you'll notice is that the jetting is running more rich, especially if it's a newer problem. Like it was running fine and now it seems to be running richer. But what does that actually look or sound or feel like? Well, when it's running richer, it's going to tend to load up at low RPM more easily. So what is loading up? Well, you let it idle or ride at low RPM and it's just blah, 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 and you kind of got to rev it to clear it out, blah, 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 for it to rev out cleanly. The idle will just slowly drop down and down until it won't want to idle anymore unless you rev it back up. And if you're new to jetting, you're like, I don't want to get into that. It seems like black magic. Don't worry, it's not that complicated once you understand how to tell if it's rich or lean. And you can start doing that with my free guide. It's the 6 alarming signs that your dirt bike is running too rich or too lean. You can grab that in the description below. Sign number 2, sign number 2 that the reeds are going bad on your two-stroke is when it's harder to start. This is because the reeds need to be closed completely. They need to be sealing out the engine so that it has good compression. And if you don't have good compression, it's going to be harder to start the engine. It might run okay at mid-range to higher RPM. But when it starts to struggle, when you're starting or low RPM, that's a good sign that the reeds are going bad. Probably want some throttle. Yep. Because when they're not sealing, there's going to be a gap and there's going to be a loss of compression. Now, sign number 3 that your reeds are going bad is when it starts fouling spark plugs more often. When those reeds aren't properly sealing, since the jetting mixture is going to be richer, the spark and engine can't properly ignite and burn that air fuel mixture. So there's going to be more unburnt fuel left in the engine, and that is what is going to foul that spark plug. So if your spark plug is getting fouled more easily, especially if you're riding at low RPM or letting it idle for more than 30 seconds or a minute, it might be your reeds. But if the reeds are good and you're still fouling spark plugs, you should check out my video up here on why your two-stroke is constantly fouling spark plugs. Sign number 4 that your reeds are going bad is when your two-stroke has less compression. There's 2 physical ways that you'll know this. One, if you're familiar with how much force it takes to kick over your engine, you will notice that it's easier to kick it over when there's less compression. So if the reeds are going bad, they're not sealing properly, there's going to be noticeably less compression. Depending on how big the gap is in the reed pedal or how big the chip is, there's going to be a bigger loss. But I've noticed that it's usually like in the 10 to 20 PSI range. So it'll still have compression most likely, but it will be noticeably less. And then obviously if you take out your compression tester, it's going to be less on that test, the amount of PSI. So that's why it's important to know when your engine is fresh, how much PSI it has when doing a compression test, so that later you can test it, and if it has 10% or more less, so let's say this YZ250 has 210 PSI when I checked it last year. So if it was like 180 or less, that would mean it's down on compression and I need to fix something. It could be the top end worn out, but if that is good, you need to check your reeds. And then sign number 5, the most obvious, but obviously you got to take some stuff apart, is if the reeds themselves on the reed block, so you got the carb here, the intake manifold, and then the reeds, the reed cage and the reed petals are there. So if you take the reed cage out and you look at the petals, if there's a big gap so you can see a lot of light through one or both petals, they're worn out. Or if there's a chip on the edge like this one had, I'll put up a picture here. If they're chipped, there's going to be a gap and you're not going to have as much compression. There's going to have all these rich jetting symptoms. If they're worn out, they're warped, you might be able to flip them over and get a few more hours of riding time. But if you're in there already, you might as well just replace them. Reeds are not that expensive, like 30 to 50 bucks. It's a maintenance item on 2-strokes. If you're trail riding, you might be able to get 100 plus hours on them if you're riding at low RPM, but if you're racing, you're probably going to have to replace them every time you do a top end. So when you do go to replace your reeds, the jetting is not going to be the same. If you had started leaning it out like I did in a previous video of this, then it's going to be too lean now. And the best place to start is the pilot jet circuit. But that doesn't mean you start changing pilot jets quite yet. You need to start with the air screw because that is the fine-tuning adjustment of the pilot jet. That'll tell you, the air screw, where it's at, is going to tell you if your pilot jet is too big, too small, or just right. If you want to know why that is, you can check out this video on what the air screw actually does, or if you just want to download my free guide on how to tune it in just a few minutes, you can grab that in the description below. I'm Kelly Fieger from MX Hideout. Stop surviving, start riding.